Okay.
Do you know this character?
I'm just started recording, Michael. Gary Nusca here from iciworld, and we're speaking with Michael Avey, you have many designations behind your name. It probably runs off the sheet of paper, which is a compliment to you of all the studying and everything you've done there, Michael. But today we're going to be concentrating on one designation called a Certified International Property Specialist, and this is a sharing the education and knowledge with everyone. There is a course coming up at the Toronto Real Estate Board in September. We're going to get into all the details, and that's what this session is about. And it's of particularly importance to any and all licensed real estate brokers and salespeople, no matter where in the world you are located. And do non-realtors also subscribe to this, Michael?
Yes, they do.
Okay, so that's also possible. Similar to CCIM, for instance, people who are working for McDonald's Corporation in the commercial real estate department can subscribe to that as well. But Michael, I'm going to just hand the reins over to you, and if you could even tell us all about you, yourself, the education, sort of how you got into CIPS and why it is of a benefit, and then leading into the course that you're going to be teaching in Canada, in Toronto, and we're going to come up with the course dates and deadlines and why everyone should attend. Over to you, Michael.
Okay, Jim Carrey, very famous individual that started off in great poverty, but achieved a lot of greatness. But it's interesting, this little slogan says, I hope everyone could get rich and famous and will have everything they ever dreamed, so you will know that it's not the answer. And the whole concept of this designation is to do better, but if you want to become a multi-billionaire, then there's a lot of things that you have to do in addition to this, but this gives us a great chance to enhance our income. And the reason that I got into the CIPS, you can see this picture on the slide there with this mounted police, and the Canadian Real Estate Association, and it's cut off the last, or just the last part of the association, and it designates me as the Canadian real estate ass, and that's what the reason that that's the reason you don't want to not have this designation, because when I bought my first property in Florida about 30 years ago, and even though the language is similar, and at least the English-speaking part of it, you know, the issues that I went through were horrendous, and there's a lot of Canadians now buying property in the United States and worldwide that haven't got a clue what they're doing, and that's not the way to do it. So I got this designation about 14 years ago, and you know, the concept is that it trains realtors to become knowledgeable in international, you know, practice. And we assume a lot of times, and that's what makes an ass of you and me, that everybody is the same throughout the world. And I mean, the Toronto area is a prime example of the diversity that you know, is out there. And you know, I was just working with you know, an agent on the purchase of a property for my son in Florida, and this woman was from, you know, Eastern Europe, and you know, some of the things that she had in her mind were totally different. You know, so you know, wherever you are, you have to become familiar with what is happening. So this designation also provides important networking and referral tools, differentiates you know, designees in international marketplaces, and options of individual members as well. So the form work, I'm sorry, Gary, go ahead.
I just have a quick question. If a person is selling property locally in a neighborhood, specializing in a neighborhood in Toronto, Vancouver, wherever they are in the world, why would they need a CIPS designation to sell property locally?
Well, that's a great question, because you know, I had a client come in from Iraq, and you know, the way that they do business in the Middle East is totally different than what we do in the United States and Canada. And you know, for him to trust me and feel confident with me, I have to have a little bit of understanding of some of their culture and, you know, the way they do business. One prime example in that case, Gary, he says that in Iraq they like to give a large deposit, And that's contrary to the United States. Everybody wants to give a small amount of deposit, so if they break the contract, they think that's a limit of their liability, which it is not true either. So he says in Iraq, if somebody breaks the contract, the seller, then they have to pay them 10 times the amount of the deposit, which is pretty amazing.
Oh.
So if you put a $10,000 deposit or $20,000, they're going to have to pay you $100,000 or $200,000 if they break the contract.
Well, that's interesting.
So, little things like that. And, if you offend somebody, then they're not going to deal with you. So, if you don't know something about their culture, even though they're buying a property in Toronto or, the Toronto area or anywhere in Canada, then, you lose all that credibility. So, you learn all the different cultural aspects. Not all of them, but some of them.
I see. And then, of course, you get some of these incoming referral opportunities because of being a CIPS member.
That's correct. And,
okay.
Just on MLS alone, we didn't talk that aspect of it. Throughout the world, Canada and the United States are very unique. Even the United Kingdom do not have a multiple listing service where they cooperate in a lot of cases.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest of Europe. So if somebody lists a property, they feel that the people have to come to them. Whereas in Canada or in the U.S., we learn to share commissions.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's a growing process, and it's been a very slow system. I started like 14 years ago in the CIPS. There's about 1,200 members there at that time, and now we're up to about 3,000, and that's it's a slow growth, but it's taking time to connect with all these different representatives of all these different countries and to make them understand the concept of sharing.
Mm-hmm.
So the slide up now just shows the paperwork in applying for this particular designation.
Was that a referral sheet for doing a referral?
Those other sheets, yes. I'm sorry. They're referral contract forms.
So if somebody in another country is doing a referral, or even in someplace else, that's the referral forms.
Right. All right. Okay. And here's an example of a nice referral commission that I got a couple of years back from property that's sold in Ottawa.
I see.
Yeah. So, my concept is you can do a lot more referrals than you can deal with individual clients. So
that's interesting. The interesting thing about those widgets we have from ICI World, they are triggering leads to do referrals, and what better place to do it than amongst people that you can trust and have integrity, because one of the questions we have here is how can you trust doing a referral to another agent? Well, if you're a CIPS member, I guess there's a certain element of integrity and experience from dealing with them.
That's right. I mean, in the business world and general, people aren't going to deal with you if they don't know that you exist. So that's one issue that you have to deal with. You have to get out and meet people, and then secondly, if they know you exist, they have to be able to trust you. And how do you develop this trust? And we talk about international real estate. They say 20% of NAR's members conduct international real estate. If we took the Greater Toronto area, the numbers are probably 3 times that.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, major real estate corporations have presences overseas. Most of the large franchise. I'm going down to Costa Rica in 3 weeks. There's a real estate course going on down there as well, and it's great possibility they're going to have about 30 people at that particular CIPS course.
Very course. And you also, from time to time, I know I've talked with you about joining in on your cruise courses during the winter time, where you could take a CIPS course during a cruise. So if anybody's ever interested in that, they should get a hold of you as well, right?
Right. And the one thing is that if we understand, and I've got it further down, but there's 5 particular courses that are required, and they vary if you're from the U.S. and outside of the U.S. But the these courses can be taken. We're doing all 5 of them in Toronto in September, but they can be broken down to, one class units, but and spread over a particular time.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that you do have knowledge and you can show a little bit about the culture and not offend people by doing certain things, develops your credibility as well.
Mm-hmm.
So major challenges in international real estate, there's lack of uniform professionalism and regulations. The fact that you send somebody a referral and they make some money on it and they don't send it back to you would be a little bit disappointing. So the whole idea again
Quite a bit disappointing.
I'm sorry, say again?
That'd be quite disappointing, yes.
Yeah. So, it's happened to me too. You think that you've built this relationship. So it's important to, network and market with people that you get to know and trust as well. So that's not just the buyers and the sellers that are dealing with you, but you dealing with other real estate people internationally.
Theoretically, go ahead.
Okay, so
I have a question.
Say again?
I have a question.
Okay.
Assuming that you did a referral to a CIPS member and for some reason, one reason or another, you did not get paid, is there a method, to appeal to the CIPS board of directors, whoever that might be, and to follow up on that to try to get paid? And theoretically, if they don't get paid, they could revoke their CIPS membership?
That's a good perspective. We haven't incorporated that at this point, but it's that would probably be a good idea.
Chances are everybody's always gotten paid, so it's never been a problem.
Well, I'm sure there's circumstances that it hasn't happened, but that's a good idea because you really need some teeth in what you're talking. We can talk about ethics and integrity all day long, but if people don't adhere to them, then they're useless. Mm-hmm. So you need to have something, and with the local boards. And I remember a circumstance years ago that I was trying to deal with an ethical situation, from U.S. to Canada, and they said, well, we have no resources, or we don't have any ability to be able to do that. So that's an important thing that you brought up, Gary. Thank you for doing that.
You're welcome.
So another issue, I was looking, in Costa Rica, and there's a number of properties there, but we take for granted that we can go into public records in Canada, United States, and find out information. We find out statistics of properties sold. They don't have that information available, so it's very important to, and of course it's developing with some of the U.S. and Canadian companies going to these international locations and dealing. So we a lot of things we take, connecting with the right people. We talked about that, and how do I get paid? Those are all important issues.
A question on that, just on that previous screen, connecting with the right people. That's a good point, because when you go to a market, you really don't know the salespeople in that area. You might go out for lunch or dinner with them and try to develop a good business relationship, but do you really know? Whereas if you were in this conversation that you and I are having now, can actually develop more business for all CIPS members worldwide, because why not contact a CIPS member in that particular country, someone who has built up the integrity over the years, where you can get more market information and connect, and that would be the right person to connect with, I would suggest, in some of these other countries.
Absolutely. You got it right on.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, what is NAR doing to address these challenges and make international real estate business easier for you? So they have established an international network of strategic alliances, so that's with different countries. There's over 60 countries around the world that they have connections with. International partners are bound by a code of ethics compatible with NAR. So they're saying that they will conduct their way the same that they do in Canada and the United States. Your membership in NAR gives you an instant credibility among international network.
You need to stay on that screen again, please, Michael.
Okay.
This is an important thing when you have your membership in NAR is instant credibility, because there are codes of ethics, not just in National Association of Realtors, but also the Canadian Real Estate Association. And our membership on ICI World is built with licensed real estate professionals who are members of all these various national associations. And so I think that's important, especially in the field of exclusive information, when you wonder who you're dealing with. Well, you've got people who are members of these real estate boards that are bound by codes of conduct, codes of ethics, and that's very important, so that people worldwide can know that if you see that if someone has a membership in the National Association of Real Estate or the Canadian Real Estate Association or the Toronto Real Estate Board, Ontario Real Estate Association, and the Florida Board of Realtors, all of these different organizations, there's codes of conduct and ethics, and there actually are people that the public can actually contact, the licensing bodies that overlooked all the licenses that all these brokers and salespeople receive. And that is an element of confidence that you can deal with people and get respected that your money is being properly deposited and looked after from time to time. Because I know in other countries, people have actually absconded with money that was in escrow and stuff like that. So that's a good point that you're bringing up, that dealing with CIPS members, you're going to get an element of confidence that you're going to get looked after and treated securely and safely.
Yeah, and it's not a large network, but if somebody violated you, you would certainly let other members know.
Okay.
So the strategic alliance is actually at 80 different countries throughout the world now.
Very good.
So when we talk about Western Europe, it's a long-time partner with the U.S. 1/3 of the U.S. inbound investments in real estate comes from Germany, the UK, and the Netherlands. Not to mention that in Florida, and it's dropped a little bit because of the decline in the dollar, the Canadian dollar, but we had up to 40% of the international buyers were from Canada.
And the majority were paying cash.
Well, that's part of an issue where they think that they can't get financing in the United States, which is not true. We can get financing here now, and you can leverage it a lot better, and you can actually do better. So if people were educated, and a lot of realtors don't even know that, there's financing available through TD Bank and RBC and a couple other ones. There's one from Spain as well that provides financing for high-end properties.
That alone, Michael, I want to thank you for being on these sessions with us at ICI World, and because it helps the public and it can help other realtors understand some things that maybe they never thought of, that you can get financing when investing in Florida. And that's great. That's very good. And so people can get a hold of you whenever they hear this video, which we'll be placing on the internet, making it available. That people listening to this can take advantage of this by giving you a call. Go ahead, carry on.
Yeah, and the latest thing I probably covered later, but just with my research in the Costa Rica area, the Canadians and Americans can now get financing in a country like Costa Rica, which was totally unheard of just a year ago.
Very good. So, and is there a referral or bird dog fees for doing things like that to refer customers to you, Michael?
Absolutely.
There we go.
25% referral fee to anybody that's buying internationally.
So that's the power of networks, to be able to help everyone in the business. Very good. Let's carry on.
Yeah, 100% of nothing is nothing, right? But if you share, that's the whole concept of the MLS. There's a lot more deals and transactions take place as a result of cooperation, as opposed to everybody trying to dig through the maze of properties throughout the world.
And the advantage of course, all these referral fees and whatnot, that actually provides great service for the public, and that's the bottom line. In other words, by doing referrals, by finding out about listings, for instance, I know on some of our widgets we post on all brokers' websites worldwide that triggers leads, and you do a referral. That's giving an opportunity to the public to find out about things they never otherwise would have found out about, giving them greater choice in the marketplace of, in our case, the listings that are not on real estate boards. But in the case of doing referrals to these different countries, both for financing and for others, it's providing more services to the public that otherwise were not available by competent professional real estate people. Doctors do referrals, lawyers do referrals, and realtors do referrals. Okay, carry on.
Absolutely. And we're just talking about Latin America. The reality is Latin America covers what we call Central America, which is part of North America, and of course South America, except for Brazil. There actually is one English-speaking country in South America. Do you know which one that is, Gary, by any chance?
The English-speaking country. Panama, maybe?
No,
they speak a lot of English.
Yeah, they do speak a lot of English, but it's Guyana. It used to be part of the British
Guyana,
nations, and of course, yeah.
Very good.
And then Belize is totally English speaking. It used to be part of British Honduras.
I see.
So again, Latin America is another important area. Asia goes without saying, the impact that China and India are having in the world. Part of it is, just based on the fact that there's so many people. And I'm talking to a person from India. I think it was at Realtor Quest. He said,
at our booth, actually.
Yeah, and he said, if you set up a business in China or in India, just because of the number of people, you become a multimillionaire. It's hard to believe, and that's where the wealth comes from.
Mm-hmm. And this is interesting. Actually, one more on that previous screen. In other words, in China and India, when people are emigrating, I know that all countries of the world have a lot of them. In the United States and Canada, we got about 300,000 people immigrating all the time. And if you hold education, that's interesting to see that you're saying that people from other countries are respecting these designations and they hold great prestige. So there's an element of confidence and faith that they're going to get treated properly. And everyone in real estate, of course, is helping to create wealth for all of their clients through real estate. And so they're more likely to maybe want to deal with someone that has a nice designation, that they feel that they know what it's all about and feel confidence in the people they're dealing with.
That's an interesting comment that you made, that the real estate creates wealth. Well, the real estate is the wealth of the world, and everything is based on that. And the problem in a lot of these countries is that they don't have good registration systems, and they can't monitor who actually owns some of the properties. So this holds them back a lot, because they can't extract the wealth from the property, because it has to be more specific. And it's another thing that we take for granted in the Americas, that we can take our property and we can finance it, we can refinance it, we can sell it with the security that we actually own title it. And this is not prevalent in every country.
No, I've heard some good stories over the year. One being that a person was walking their property one time, and this was many, many, many years ago, and I'm not going to say the country because I think they've improved since then. I didn't want to hold them out to be a problem. But at the time when they walked the property, they saw another person walking the property, and they says, "Oh, just wondering who you are," and the person says, "Oh, well, I own the property." And they thought that they owned the property. The property, eventually, they found out had been sold 6 times to 6 different people. And that's all like the problem of the land titles at the time, many, many years ago. I'm going back into the 80s.
Yeah, well, it's still prevalent, even today. It's hard to comprehend that they haven't, but, we take a lot of things for granted, growing up in Americas. But a lot of them are starting to embrace this, and, it's a changing world. Things that have 20 years ago, countries that we thought were pretty scary to be in are very popular and strong. Colombia, for example, is going to be one of the top places for retirement. The cost of living, we always equate it to a lot of crime going on, but that's changed, and a lot of things are happening. But you have to be open-minded, and part of the CIPS course, you become more open-minded because you become knowledgeable. So part of what the designation is to provide information that's easily accessible, in other words, at your fingertips.
One of our goals, we use that term, information at your fingertips, with our mobile website, the iciworld.mobi. You can put it on your mobile phone, and bingo, you can click on it. And what nicer thing would be than to have the properties and all the Caribbean in every different country right on this mobile phone that you can just kind of click on at any time. And so that's one of the things we're growing for the future, to get everyone using iciworld.mobi as just one of their tools. It's just one of the tools in the marketplace, as these other tools that you're showing us now too.
Yeah, no, that's a great feature for sure. And people need to know information about the countries. And some of these country profiles, even though they have their statistics are not necessarily as accurate as we'd like to have them. For example, they talk about Canada. They equate the whole country to the Toronto area, and then they say the ease of doing business and the process of getting energy or hooked up in Toronto takes 180 some odd days, and it drops the Canadian perspective of ease of doing business down several levels. And that's may not necessarily be in total context, and this is why having a knowledge of a lot of things, you can extract this information and say, look, this doesn't make sense. You do more research, or you say, if we went to Hamilton instead of Toronto, you can do it in 7 days. So the United States is all based on New York and Los Angeles, and if everything in every state and every country and every city based the ease of doing business based on those, gives it a little bit of a distorted perspective. So
the other good thing you've brought up is, and a suggestion that we're trying to help everyone, is when you have a listing that's on the internet, put a link to either a local economic development office or city hall that talks about that particular area, that helps to sell that area to the world. We recommend that that be in various listings and also on each individual's website to help market the area to the world.
Absolutely. Good point. So, this designation gives you opportunities to connect with other international real estate professionals. At least these people know a little bit about what's going on. They have these NAR liaisons. They got the ambassador boards that bring programs to different levels. This convention, and I think I mentioned it to you, Gary, that it's going to be in Orlando in November, and it's a great opportunity to network internationally. And I keep promoting that Realtor Quest in Toronto is a great place for the Americans to come up and network, and there are a couple that do, but I think it's something that we can promote.
That might be something they to get on to be a speaker at an event like that for someone like ourselves. Is that a possibility?
Everything is possible, and it may take a little bit longer to get work it through, but it is a possibility.
Okay, we can maybe talk about that.
Let's work on it.
Sounds good.
So there's also opportunity to increase your visibility and education in the international real estate market. So I talked about these 5 courses, talk about the essentials, Europe, Asia, Americas, investment, and financial. Actually, they changed the name of that course, but some of these slides are from a few years ago. As you can see, the CIPS Network used to be 1,300, now it's 3,000. So I took the liberty to grab some old slides, and I never have a chance to, because they were pre-done, to change some of them.
Very good.
So what does it mean, CIPS? And a lot of people talk about CIPS, and that's just like a no-no. You want to use the actual initials, or Certified International Property Specialist. So it trains realtors to become knowledgeable and international practitioners, provide important networking and referral tools, differentiate designees in the international market, and options of individual membership in NAR for non-U.S. members. So that's where the Canadians come into it. Through the Canadian Real Estate Association, I've worked with them. And these are just some other designations. And there's the CCIM one that you are a member.
Mm-hmm.
Inbound real estate facts: 10% of all Americans are foreign-born. Canadians, it's probably higher than that. 20% of the new Americans purchase real estate within 1 year of entry. Foreign investors own 11% of all property in the United States. That's an amazing statistic. And New York consistently ranks as one of the top cities for foreign investments. Any idea why that is, Gary?
Well,
London and Paris?
I'm just going to take a guess that you've got tremendous wealth between the Saudis and China, and they're spreading their money around the world.
Yeah, that's exactly the issue. They're, because real estate is more stable, even though it does go up and down. Currencies, and I remember having a student in a class from Colombia, and he invested some. He had a client that invested some in some property, and because of the turmoil in the country, the currency exchanges was going all over the place, and so when he bought was when the currency was strong, and even though he sold the property he just broke even on it, he was just extremely excited. And he said, well, why are you? He says, well, the currency is down now, and when I take it back, I got about I made hundreds of thousands of dollars just on that currency exchange issue.
Mm-hmm.
And that that's another issue that just between Canada and the United States, the Canadian dollar was strong, and now it's weak. It's back up to, I thought it was 78 cents today. But just transferring your money from Canada to the United States, you can pay like 7 or 8% higher than you really need to pay. With a little bit of knowledge, you can go through Currency Direct or Money Corp and avoid the banks adding their 7 or 8% commission that they charge on converting currency. So when you're talking $500,000 or $1 million property, that's a lot of money. Or even $100,000, it's more than you need to pay. So these are some of the advantages.
Well, you're an important man to know there, Michael.
Thank you. Over 4 million Americans live abroad, and there's over 1 million of them that actually retire in Mexico, and these statistics are happening more and more often. There's, Costa Rica is a very popular location for Canadians to retire. You can retire on about a third of the cost of what it costs to live in Canada, and making this transition, there's a lot of real estate individuals in Canada that are missing out opportunities to refer it to brokers in Costa Rica. And this is one of the reasons that I'm going down to Costa Rica in July, is to connect with the people, the immigration attorneys, and all of the individuals that deal in real estate in Costa Rica. And the other information is, obvious. Baby boomers are buying second homes all over the place. 15% of all foreign investment abroad is, estimated to be in real estate. Global audience. We got all these different countries that I won't dwell on that. So the goal is to expand your business on a global level, and even, if you don't travel outside of Toronto area, you are dealing with people from 30 and 40 different countries all the time. And I just skip over a few of these. Membership directory, this is an important thing. We have this directory, and yet there's the number of people that don't have their photo in it. So let me ask you a question, Gary. If you had a choice of contacting somebody in a directory and you saw one with a nice face, or at least you could see who they were, and you had a blank fake picture on the other one, which one would you pick?
Well, I'm finding that the majority, or a lot of people now, that's a great reason to have the social media and your own personal website. So when they go to your personal website, they can see your picture, they can see your contacts, they can click on your Facebook account, they can click on LinkedIn, see all of your professional designations, they can click on Twitter to see the kind of articles that you might be tweeting out. If you don't have it, that's fine. But the point is, you need to back it up with the social media. We've just actually recently added social media to our very own website. We didn't think it was necessary before because we had the links to every single salesperson's website, which really has all of that information, but we've just added it in anyways, the social media. But you're absolutely right. People want to become familiar with who you are as a person. You know, are you a family man? All that kind of stuff. It shows an element of confidence and integrity when they can deal with you that way, and they can get treated properly for their family and their best interests.
Right. It's not, you know, it's not the only factor, but it is a large factor. And if you don't play your cards right, then you lose the game, right?
Yep.
And putting the international puzzle together, it boils down to how do I get paid, right? And that's what we already discussed. Finding qualified brokers, countries with no customer referrals, amount of commission is insignificant. You know, most people can read these if they're looking at this, but you know, I won't dwell on it. I'll keep going through. You know, there's so much information, and I wanted to get to, you know, some of the, you know, flyers and stuff that the NAR provide. In one of the courses, teaching is the business of U.S. real estate, and you know, I'm been adamant about the fact that it doesn't have, you know, such as good a representation, and there's, you know, just a few pages on Canada in the course, and I think I'm working towards putting a course on doing business in Canada.
Very good.
But again, you know, the issues that I went through, you know, 25 years ago and buying my first property, you know, you'd like to avoid whatever pain you can. That's a sign of intelligence. If you do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result, that's insanity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we have all these different courses, and they give you the course objectives. People can read these. Did you know that the Toronto Real Estate Board is the largest real estate board in the world at the present time, Gary?
We've always known that here locally. In fact, when we do our videos online, it's actually the second or third largest one in the world, and is, of course, the largest one in Canada with over 40,000 members.
So I'm talking about the largest in the world.
Well, as far as a board is concerned, it may be the largest in the world, but I was talking about Realtor Quest as being one of the largest shows in the world.
Trade shows. Yeah.
Trade shows. It's the largest in Canada and about the second, I think, largest one in North America.
Yeah, the NAR one would be the largest in the world, but
right.
They get 20 to 25,000 participants every year.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'd strongly recommend going to the Orlando one. It's fairly inexpensive to get down here. And
what's the date on that one?
It's November, usually around the 4th or 5th.
So the CIPS is going to be at the same time?
No, that's in September.
Oh,
this is November.
No, I'm talking about there's a CIPS functions going on in Florida in November as well, are there not?
Oh, yeah. At the trade show, they have separate tables for all the different countries, and you have a chance to network with people from all over the world.
Okay, gotcha.
And there's thousands of international realtors that, you know, attend there, and they usually give the designations pins that, you know, they pin them at a, you know, special function.
Right, we do the same for CCIMs too.
Yeah.
Go ahead, carry on.
So I already mentioned the different courses. There's 5, and there's actually a choice. There's 2 that are compulsory. Then there's 3 that, you know, are optional. And then you have to get 100 points, which means that you have to do some international transactions. And there's other credits that you can get for other, you know, experiences. So it's long and involved, and I won't get into it specifically. There's a one-time application fee, and then you're paying $220, every year to renew your membership. And that's not just, to have a PIN. They provide a lot of information that they spend a lot of money, and so that's part of where that money goes.
Mm-hmm.
I won't get into all the breakdowns. Here's a some list of the different global meetings. News information from Asia Times, the BBC. All of this information provides you international, and they have all the embassy contacts, sister cities, travel clubs. All these resources are very helpful when people are moving abroad. Chambers of Commerce. That's intuitively obvious. And then they talk about different franchises that are international. You can recognize any of these? Century 21.
Just a few. Basically all of them.
Yeah. So they know that, there's activity and they need to incorporate it. So here's some of the resources. We have the, the directory of the CIPS. We have the Global Council directory. We have Field Guide to International Referrals, International Research, Local Market Assessment Case Studies, and Realtor.com International Data. All that is part of what we provide funding for through our dues. The most diverse, this is interesting, gives you a little bit of background. The most diverse immigration population is the United Kingdom's. Over 50,000 people living in the UK. So 43 different countries have over 50,000 people living in the UK. It's almost as much as in Toronto, isn't it?
I was going to wait until you said something like that, or I was going to bring it up.
And then France, they are the opposite. They have people living abroad. 83 countries have at least 1,000 French-born inhabitants. There's a few of them in the Sarasota area of Florida. And then the Persian Gulf. I'm not going to spend a lot of time. I'm just going to go flip through these. India, they're going to soon become the largest population country in the world, and they have a large population all over the place, and a lot of them are, sending their money back to India to help. The most traveled migration path between Mexico and the United States, and Donald Trump probably not too happy about that aspect, with the Mexicans coming north. European country with the most immigrants is Germany. It's interesting, isn't it? And of course, when we talk about the Middle East, no, this is the, I'm sorry, this is the European Union. Spain has been on a roller coaster. It used to be, a great buy. The real estate was booming in Spain, and then we hit the wall. Paradox of China. Although China is second only to Mexico in the number of immigrants it produces, China's foreign-born, as its shares of its population, is among the smallest in the world. There are only 850 immigrants in China as of 2013. Okay, here's some of the information that we can do in marketing. Some flyers and postcards and things that we can provide. 75 plus resources. This is a thing that we get every month. The global perspective from CIPS. Incredible amount of information.
So individual CIPS members can use that in their marketing.
Absolutely, and of course it keeps them up to date on what's happening. Here's an example of they don't have this directory any longer, but here's somebody that didn't have a photo. Mm-hmm. So if we're going to pick somebody, so now it's on website, it's not quite the same. And we talked about refining something that with you, Gary.
Yes.
Canada leads in the number of transactions in the U.S. and this is changing. China is increasing more and more. It used to be the U.K. was number one, but Canada for the last 7 or 8 years has been number one. Okay, and all the rest of this is just statistics and information pertaining to different growth of different countries, and people can look at that individually. The thing that I stress to most Canadians is that you're buying up America, and try to do it the smartest and the most economical way.
By the way, is this particular PowerPoint demonstration available for people to access after this session?
If they would like it, yes. Just
give you a call and then work it through you?
Yeah. So there's a class I did in South Florida, and I did a survey of, there's a book by Diane Francis called Merger of the Century, Merger of Canada and the United States. It's quite an interesting book. I'd recommend people reading it, and took a vote to see how many thought that they should do it. And a very diverse number of people, and from probably 15 different countries, and I had one Canadian, but 90%, over 90% of the people in that class voted for the merger, and it's interesting. Canadians are more resistant to it, but there are certain advantages and disadvantages. And this is a little bit of information about me being born in Brantford, Ontario, Canada. Grew up in Toronto, lived in Barrie and Mississauga before I moved to Florida. All right. Do you have any other questions, Gary?
No. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just switch the computer quickly and back to my screen here for a moment with a purpose in mind. Let me just bring up the screen. And when you come to iciworld, if you click on the word events at any time, you'll find that we have an events page here. You'll find it one way or another through here. If you click on events, you'll see another screen come up. And the reason I bring that up is because it will be not just for this particular purpose for the upcoming one, but for all kinds of different events that are coming up in the marketplace. And you'll see the table of contents, and you'll see the CIPS course being advertised here. We're going to be working with Michael to help promote the CIPS course worldwide. And then you'll see Michael's picture come up here, and then you can click on the CIPS course at TREB, and you can always double check these things, and Michael, also on your part, to make sure that this ties in with what you'd like us to link to. But you can see the CIPS course there on TREB, September 26th to 30th, 2016. But again, if you're listening to this particular recording next year, like 2017, 18, 19, etc., just come back to the events page on iciworld, and you'll see when the next upcoming courses are. I'll click on the one for Toronto, and you'll see the upcoming course registration and details here in Toronto. Okay. Unless there's anything else to add, Michael, I think we'll call it an end to the session now. And people, if they have questions, they can maybe just kind of get a hold of you. Would you like us to show your website, Michael?
If they would like, I
went www.
TampaBayRealEstate.com. TampaBayRealEstateHelp.com.
RealEstateHelp.com. Let's try that. There we go. And you'll see Michael's information, so you can follow up. And I'll leave this on the screen, and so you can see all of this contact information there as well. And that's it for today, Michael. Thank you so much. And that completes our session. And you can call Michael directly when you have questions, or get a hold of me, Gary Nusca, at iciworld.com.